On the 21st September 2022, Dingisao Madisi, the chairperson of Special Law Commission on the Review of Public Health Act, recommended that the government should introduce a small nominal fee to access health services for unemployed people, while the employed people should be under health insurance. To my right is Patrick Ndimba, who strongly believes that the government should adopt this policy. While to my left is Arthur Promise Chibondo, who says that this is not a good idea. Stay tuned to hear what these guys are to say. Welcome back. Each participant is given 2 minutes to make his point, and the first 2 minutes is for them to introduce themselves. So we are starting with the proposer, who is Patrick Ndimba.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kasmulu Patrick H.W. Ndimba Jr., studying my Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery at the prestigious Kamuzu University of Health Sciences, Mahatma Gandhi campus, Blantyre, the country's commercial city. I am a writer, businessman. I'm also interested in the fields of politics, economics, business, and finance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a long-awaited policy that should have been introduced some 58 years ago when Malawi gained independence from the British government on the 6th of July 1964. Due to unavailability of resources as well as other problems, the government is failing to meet or fulfill the April 2001 Abuja Declaration, which requires that the government provide 15% of the national budget to the health sector. The government is failing to fulfill that. But I strongly believe that if people can start paying a little amount of money, then we will be able to fulfill the Abuja Declaration, which was signed by the African leaders who are in the African Union. This has worked in Namibia, and it can also work here. There is nothing that can stop that from working here. Namibia, the 34th largest country in Africa, in the world, is one of the countries in Africa that are doing very well in the health issues. Failure to fulfill or meet what the declaration meets is something that is not good, useless, and it makes the whole process useless. A declaration, in simple terms, is a commitment by the nations, and by any means it has to be fulfilled. Ladies and gentlemen, I therefore propose that this be adopted by the National Assembly, and I ask for your support. Thank you very much for the time that you gave me.
Okay, now I have to give the floor to the opposer, Arthur Promise Chibondo, to make an introductory statement.
All right. My name is Arthur Promise Chibondo. I'm an MBBS 1 at Kamuzu University of Health Sciences. I'm a patriotic youth with a clear understanding how the politics of this nation works. I don't really think the government should impose these new fees for people to access health services in this country. Patrick says government should have introduced this 58 years ago. But I don't think this was necessary, and I don't think it is necessary even up to date. Because, let's face it, a lot of Malawians are poor, and they specify to say it has to be to people who are unemployed. If you go to the average unemployed Malawian, they don't have anything else to do. So if you go to the average family, they are failing to buy even the subsidized farm inputs that are supplied by the government each and every year. They're failing to buy food, and there is a threat for hunger in this country. They're also failing to buy even better clothing, something like that. So I don't really think this would be really considerate to start asking for fees for people to access health services in this country when it was previously free, because it's like adding another burden on the lives of poor Malawians. So I don't think government should impose these fees.
I am aware that Malawians are facing problems. Many Malawians are poor and the country is generally poor. It is one of the most poorest countries in the world. That is true. But what we want to do is we want people to be paying a small nominal fee. We're saying a small nominal fee. We're not saying people will pay a lot of millions or a lot of thousands. They will just pay a small amount so that we meet the 15%. If we achieve that, then we'll be able to fulfill the 15% which was adopted by the African leaders in April 2001. If we do that, then we'll be able to achieve the universal health coverage, which is promoted by the WHO. In fact, one of the things that is making Malawians poor or the country poor is these subsidies. The free services are the ones that are making the country poor. We talk of the AIP, we talk of the free health services, we talk of free water connection or free electricity connection. Those are the things that will make Malawi poor and poorer. So this is time for people to think outside the box. This is time for people to think of other ways of finding money so that we achieve the health that we desire. This is time to look for other means or other ways. We have to think outside the box. I don't know whether the outside the box exists or not, but we just have to do so. The point is, we have to find other ways to achieve what was adopted in 2001, the Abuja Declaration.
Patrick, I still don't understand why you're saying that we have to pay for these things. Because just recently, the MLA announced that they had surpassed their quarterly limits in terms of revenue collected. So I believe, and I strongly do, that Malawi collects enough tax from its citizens and it can afford to continue funding these free healthy services. If the government managed to fund the medical bills of a single individual amounting to 300 million kwacha, I strongly believe that we can continue doing these things for its citizenry for free. But I also understand the fact that the Ministry of Health has been underfunded for decades in this country. But I think that's just a problem with governance, because this has been caused due to massive looting of public funds in different sectors of government. And that's the same issue why I think we shouldn't impose these fees on poor Malawians in this country. I mean, there is corruption everywhere. How can we be sure that the money that is going to be contributed is going to do its intended purpose? It will just end up in the pockets of the few privileged people who are in power right now. So I don't really think this is not the best decision, or at least maybe it's not even the best timing to do so. The best timing, you ask? Maybe it will be when we the best timing, you ask? It will be when we have a stable government, a government that has rooted out corruption and at least has improved the standards of living of poor Malawians, like the United States.
It is true that the Malawi Revenue Authority recently announced that it surpassed the target it wanted to collect in form of taxes. That's true, but we should not forget that we not only have the health sector, we also have other sectors that are equally struggling. We have not to forget them. They also need the support of the government. So if they collected a lot, it doesn't mean that that has to be transferred to the health sector. We have other sectors which are equally suffering. You also talked about the vice president's, the 311 million kwacha, which the government has funded the medical bills for the wife of the vice president. That's true, and she is entitled to that. If those are the actual bills, the government has just to pay for that, because it is she is entitled to that. Those are her benefits. You also talked about massive routing of resources. Whether that is true or not, I don't have any say, but that should be left for the Anti-Corruption Bureau. I'm here to propose that the National Assembly should adopt this, not to fight the corruption. I'm not the graft-busting body.
So you are not against corruption?
I've not said that. But the pain that Malawians will feel now is just short-lived. They will come later to thank me, 5 or 10 years, they will thank me to say what you are saying is true. because the government is being forced to borrow a lot just to fund health projects. It is being forced to go into debts and will face problems in future to pay those debts. Recently, the IMF has blacklisted Malawi that it will not be able to qualify for any loans because it has a lot of loans. Now we have about 7.6 trillion loans, and then our net worth is just about 11 point something trillion. So we have just to stop this. The subsidies are making the country poorer and poorer. I also talked in the beginning about the Namibia. Namibia, I never said it is a guarantee that what worked in Namibia will also work in Malawi. It is not a guarantee. But then we can always learn from them. We are all in Africa. They are in Africa. They are in SADC. We can always learn from them, because we have to ask them, what did you do for you to have these good services? The 34th largest nation, that is Namibia, is doing really, really well than Malawi in terms of health services that it offers. You must also know, for your own information, that the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi does not actually provide for the right of health, except for the basic health services in under Section 30. So I don't know whether we have to continue fighting this, but I'm sure the audience just know that what I'm saying makes sense.
Okay, Patrick, you have said that tax alone is not enough because we have a lot of places where that money needs to go. But do you really think that it's wise to impose even more tax? We already have a lot of taxes that we Malawians, who are generally poor, have to pay. Don't you think that being more inconsiderate? I love to hear you say, like, we have to persevere. Persevere, persevere, persevere. Whether it's short-lived or long-lived, I don't really care. But how many things do we have to persevere as citizens of this country? How many things? We have forex shortages, skyrocketed prices, and nothing is happening on the ground. Like, technically, there's very, very little development that's happening on the ground. How many things do we have to persevere? Don't you think that adding more taxes would just be like increasing a burden on our lives?
Yes.
Okay, fine. You even came forward and said that it is the free things, the subsidies that are making Malawi poor. But I don't really think you're saying that in good faith, because you know already that Malawians are already poor, or were already poor before these subsidies came in. And technically these subsidies came in to at least try to alleviate the situation or the standards of living of these already poor Malawians. You said you are not a graft busting body. You are not the Anti-Corruption Bureau. But we would be waiting for the Anti-Corruption Bureau to deal with these cases of corruption in government. But how do you think that the SB, which is just a body, which is also controlled by government, managed to deal with people in high ranks also controlling government? It's like the SB is now already in armpits of the corrupt government structure, and how do you expect it to function? So, with this state of corruption in this country, my original point stands to say that's the reason why we don't have enough resources, and that's the reason why we can't trust this government to keep harvesting from poor Malawians, putting those money into their pockets. And about what 300 million kwacha can build in Malawi, I won't try to argue about that, but you just have to go on Jason Kennan's page and check what he wrote about what they did with something like 68 million kwacha, and try to imagine what 300 million kwacha could have done. Patrick, I think it's not really good for government to impose these things on us, because we have the freedoms to choose what we want to happen as citizens. There are several medical schemes out there, like for those employed. They have the right to choose whether to be on a certain medical scheme or something like that. I don't really think that asking those people to be on this government scheme might really be necessary. So I want to conclude to say I don't think it's important, or at least for now, for the government to introduce these these fees.
Thank you for your point, but let me remind you that one of the things that is making Malawi poor is the instant gratification. We would like to enjoy today, forgetting about what we'll have in future. In fact, if we solve our today's problems, forgetting about what we'll do in future, then we'll continue to suffer and suffer economically, and that will make our country unstable. You also indicated that the Anti-Corruption Bureau is under the government's corrupt guys, but let me tell you that the Anti-Corruption Bureau is an independent body. It is not controlled by the Director of Public Prosecutions. In fact, recently the Parliament indicated that the SCB can take cases to court without even seeking consent from the DPP. You also indicated that free subsidies are good. They are making Malawians to enjoy, but that's not true. They are draining a lot of resources. Recently, the think tank from the Britain indicated that Malawi has to leave the AIP and adopt other means that can help it. Let me remind you that I like what William Ruto, the recently sworn-in president of Kenya, what he did, because what he has actually ended all the free subsidies that the previous regime was offering. I like this. This will make
Arthur Chibondo, this is your floor.
You might say instant gratification is the problem with Malawi being poor, but I don't really think so. Malawi is poor just because we don't have the right leadership to take us to prosperity, and that's a fact. We can see and compare how different regimes across Africa are performing. That's not just a coincidence. It's a sign that leadership has a part in this whole thing. A matter of AIP, I didn't say that the affordable input subsidy or affordable inputs program was the best thing that the government did, because technically it was the worst, as you have said. But maybe this went wrong when the government decided to increase reach of that subsidy from where the previous regime left it. You see, so that's not the main problem. The main problem here is that the decisions that have been made by the current leadership are The main problem is that the decisions that have been made by the current leadership are what have put this country in a very difficult situation. In a situation where the IMF does not want to lend us money. In a situation where we don't have fuel, we don't have forex, we don't have all these basics that we need as a country. So I still don't think all those points add up.
Okay, this has been a stiffy debate. I know, yeah, and you can leave your comments below on the views on how are you viewing this matter. Yeah, I know it is affecting all of us, the whole country. So you can leave the views in the comment section below. Thank you.
You have to think outside the box.
We have to persevere and then
Not stopping persevering and then looking for.